And last but not least, man, the Adam Project. This is a new Netflix film.
Right.
And this is Netflix's way of saying, here's what, I know there's Batman in theaters, the Batman, sorry. But hey, stay home and watch this because it's a big budget movie and it have big names. It have Ryan Reynolds and Mark Ruffalo and Jennifer Garner. Remember her? You know what I mean? And Zoe
I see
Saldana.
her.
Was it I know, right? And
I see
Zoe
her hot.
Saldana. When the last time you see Zoe? Yeah, Jennifer and Zoe. What's the last time you see them, right?
Well, the
But yeah,
last time I
they're
see
this
Zoe
movie.
is what is Avengers
Oh yes. Well, that was oh gosh, that was
Endgame.
2019, bro.
You know?
Yeah, which I felt was seriously that was like years ago,
Hot.
but literally it's like 3, yeah, or roughly 3, right? But anyway, this is the second pairing of Ryan Reynolds with director Shawn Levy. Last time we saw the both of them work together was in a pretty decent film called Free Guy, which we reviewed last year, and we enjoyed for the most part. Wasn't perfect, but we enjoyed it, right? Right, and well, you didn't see this, right? I
Yeah, I kind of skipped it.
suspect I know why. I guess it had to do with the star himself, Ryan Reynolds.
Well, kinda. I mean, it's more to do with this kind of, again, we living in this age of general marketing. So I expected this to be about as good as what do you call it? I was expecting this to be about as good as
Red Notice,
Red Notice, right? It's
yeah,
just
which I hated.
yeah, which is what you call post-study movie, like is that post-study movie problem, right? I didn't have I had an issue with that. They're selling a poster and then they know people will make the money and they know they're gonna make the money anyway. So I just kind of didn't worry about it, even though Free Guy was. And if I understand, this was made a while back, like a good 2-3 years, if as far as I know. In terms of when it was finished, so it's like one of those that just sitting on the shelf for a while and then they put it out. Like, okay, I ain't in the mood for stuff like that. I know that stuff is like mediocrity. So anyway, tell me about it.
Yeah. So all right. So basically, we introduced to Adam Reed, right? Most original name ever, right? He's played by Ryan Reynolds, right? He is a time pilot, right? So he's
Right.
introduced in the year 2050. Of course, it's dystopian and it's all dark and whatnot, right? So it just the film pretty much opens with him, flying in what is called a time jet, right? So this jet, a similar jet, is chasing him. So he just kind of like launches this device and it creates this wormhole and he goes into it, right? So basically he goes on this rescue mission. So the plan initially was to go to 2018 because his wife Laura, who's played by Zoe Saldana, died in the future, right? So he's
Right.
going back to 2018 for a reason, which I'll get into in a bit, right? But instead, he lands in 2022, right? And what happens is that he runs into his younger self, right? So, who is played by Walker Scobell. I know I've seen this kid in a film somewhere, but he looks very very familiar, right? And in this year, he is 12-year-old. He's pretty much, bullied. He's, his mom, who's played by Jennifer Garner, sorry, by Jennifer Garner, is a single parent because her husband, who is played by Mark Ruffalo, died in a car accident. So she's just scared. It's hard on her to do it, right? And because it's Ryan Reynolds. Yes, the kid have to play a younger version of Ryan Reynolds. So the same kind of quips, it's the Ryan Reynolds isms that you know about him for now. Like, yes, I could talk shit, I could shit talk my way out of things, but in this case, because he's 12 and he's being bullied, that usually doesn't work all that well, right? So yeah, the nutshell is old Adam meets young Adam, and they basically come up with this plan to go into 2018. And well, the idea basically is that their father, Lewis, who's played by Mark Ruffalo, he's this quantum physicist basically, and he is
Right.
the one who pretty much comes up with a concept, I would say, for controlled time travel. I'm gonna talk about that in my review, right?
Right.
And what happens is that associate of his, right, her name is Maya Sorian. She's a businesswoman, right, who is played by Catherine Keener. Where was the last time you see her in anything, right? Yeah, so she pretty much founded Lewis's research, right? But basically in the future she kind of buys it out and becomes all powerful, and she pretty much controls time travel, right? So just to jump into the review here one time, right? So just to touch on story for a bit, right? So Ricardo, I know you're a man who love to talk about, what makes time travel work and what doesn't work. When it doesn't work in films. I think the first time I ever met you, you were talking about Looper and what didn't work in Looper.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that
That's a lot
shit.
of back
Right?
dog over Looper. Even though I really like Ryan Johnson as a filmmaker. Yeah, that time don't make no sense.
Yeah. There was issues with that. Trend. Like again, I don't understand. Trend. How you in the future? How you could come in the present, kill yourself and still survive? I'm sorry. I just
It's all kind of weird. It's all kind of weird arguments you could accept or not accept with respect to that. But yeah, basically have to kind of reject any sense of classical causality for it to make sense.
Right.
That's why one of the reasons is, listen, I know people just knock it, but this is one of the reasons I like Tenet, because Tenet actually like address these things by lampshading, by saying, yeah, there is no way to know, but you still should make the effort. Like, it have no way to know. Like, because
right.
because the thing is, when you're doing that stuff, you're only seeing it from your perspective. To have no way, to have no like ideal observer when it comes to this stuff. No. Like that's what I like about it. No. You have no way to test it because it's time. Like you have to rely on time to test it. So
right. I think this was what the Tomorrow War was trying to address, but
they're trying to
just
do
it in this real sloppy way. Well, you don't talk about when they literally had to sit the soldiers down and explain why they can't do this and why they had to go here. That's it.
Yeah, even Avengers Endgame kind of did it, try to do something as well. But the sad part about that is that none of them could agree on the central conceit. So it's like, whatever. Yeah, moving on.
And as you bring up Avengers Endgame, though, I just find it so funny that both Zoe Saldana and Mark Ruffalo,
right.
both of them in this movie, and it's about time, it's about that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so my issue with the film, right, is that just this one nagging thing about just the in the premise itself, right, is that Adam wants to destroy time travel, period. He just wants to stop it altogether because he finds that, it just kind of causes the world's misery and pain and all that kind of stuff. He just kind of wants to get his wife back. He kind of wants to revert things back so, she's alive and all that kind of stuff, right? Because, basically she was an enemy of Maya, both her and Adam, right? But just that idea of saying, okay, I'm going to go to the time when my dad was creating it, and I'm gonna, because basically, spoiler alert, he has this device that basically this large device, right? That Maya more or less fund and whatnot, right? But he wants to go and destroy that entirely, so there will be no time travel. Everything will go back to normal, right? And what you see in this film here is that basically, just to answer the question of where both Adams go, is that they will go into, I'm assuming, what is this? I just paraphrase here, like a finite timeline. Like they will go into their respective finite timelines, right? So case in point, young Adam will go back to where he was, but it might be in a slightly better way than it was before. And same thing with the older one as well, too. But I don't know, it's just something about the idea of destroying time travel. Instead of just saying, well, why not just take that from the bad people, from the bad guys, and let's use it for good or something like that. Let's just say, oh, well, this bad person bought it and he's used it for all these nefarious ends. Let's just destroy it altogether. Because think about it, it's something revolutionary in the world of science, right? And you now coming and saying, yeah, we should just get rid of that shit. It's just something about it. Just I don't know, it just doesn't click with me. You know what I mean? But I would say this is like the main issue that I had with the show, right? The premise itself, right? It's all right. So I would just say, on a positive note, yes, it is a solid film, right? It is very entertaining. You'll have fun watching it as well, too, right? It's a nice little popcorn flick, right? But what the show does, it doesn't always do this well, but what the show does, right, is that it relies a little too much on its heart, on its emotion, to drive the story, to drive, the characters' motivations and all kind of stuff. But for me, I just couldn't help. I don't want to sound cynical when I see this, right? But I couldn't help but think, all this is fine. Like we've seen this before in other sci-fi films. Take, E.T. and, stuff like what, Steven Spielberg did, right? Where, yes, you have a lot of emotion and character and all that kind of stuff. But the scientific stuff in it is still plausible. It still kind of makes sense. I could still follow it along, even though you might know all the logistics in it. But here, I just find like there was just like the whole scientific stuff with the time travel there, right? But there's still like holes left in it, right? That
Right.
Like for me, I just couldn't help but just kind of ask, but wait, but why they doing this? Like case in point, right? The time jet, for example, apparently is powered by one's DNA, right? But
Okay.
Adam, though, when he lands in 2022, he is badly hurt. He got shot, right? So, but he say now that he can't power the ship because he's badly hurt. But it does tell me it's the DNA that powers it, that more or less identifies you, and
Okay.
you can control it, right? So he relies on young Adam to power it, right?
Well,
But
so
again, you
but
see
your
this.
DNA, yeah, it's possible for your DNA to be damaged apparently. So again, stuff like this don't bother me.
That's
Like,
why I wondered. But like
yeah, look,
what is your
again,
DNA have to? All right, again, what do
oh,
you mean hurt had to do with the fact that you can't pilot your ship, your jet? I don't know. I don't
so,
know these things. Maybe
yeah,
I'm dumb. I don't know, right?
look, I stopped caring about these things because I some cinema sense bullshit. So I kind of don't really care. Like it depends unless you set it up as a working conceit and then you break it, then fine. But like stuff like that don't bother me because that is not why this is work or fail, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like
I
it.
understand. Yeah.
I
All
stopped
right.
caring. I
So
really stopped caring about stuff like that.
yeah. So I guess you can look at this show like this, where you're not really supposed to think about the logic and the science behind it, right? But
Yeah.
because I don't want to say it because it rests on it, I couldn't help but think about it, right? Like I'm not saying that the show have to stop and make sure everything is logistically clear and whatnot, right? But there's simple little things like powering your jet and you need the DNA, but you can't do it because you're hurt. And they just kind of gloss over it. So it's like,
Yeah.
all right, well, okay. But
Yeah.
I just supposed to kind of ignore that and just look at the fact that hey, it's old Adam and and young Adam talking to each other, right? It's one of those situations, right? Like you kind of want the story behind the humor to make sense, but because the show isn't really like focusing too much on it or spending or doing it in a simple enough way for you to be like, all right, cool, I could, all right, that worked for me, you can move on, So I just couldn't help but just see holes within the logic within this story here, right? That being said, though, character wise or whatnot, this was solid as well too. Ryan Reynolds again is playing himself though, but here he gets to have some heart, right? Some depth to his character as well too. He's still the Swami character. He's still the who always have quips up the ass. Like he will always do that, right? He always have something to say. He always knows a way to end the scene, right? So to speak, right? But I love how he was paired with Walker though, who plays his younger counterpart though. And yeah, like I thought, like Walker though sold the fact that yes, he is a young version of Ryan Reynolds. He did that very, very, very well.
Right.
Very impressive performance, right? The dad, Mark Ruffalo, I thought that he was great as well too. He's quite believable as this scientist who kind of, he's eager to see his dream become a reality, but here he's seeing his son, like two versions of his son. And his son actually in 2018 is alive and, young and whatnot, right? And just him having to deal with this issue, like, wow, like all this stuff you tell him about the future, all that kind of stuff, right? I did have an issue with Catherine Keener's character, Maya, right? Because, yeah, she is the villain in this, though, but I felt like she just wasn't as strong as a villain. She wasn't as captivating as a villain. Just, oh, I'm rich and I'm powerful, and, you don't know what you're doing with this. Look at all the potential.
Mustache, yeah. If she had a mustache, she would tool it, right? Yes, that.
It's like that, right?
Yeah.
And then, well, I mean, slight spoiler, but not really a surprise. She confronts her younger self, and and also, by the way, I just found out that she basically plays both old and new version, the young version. Sorry, the younger version is some DH and stuff that he did. I didn't even realize that. I thought that there was another actress that got to play her.
So they use what young tech or whatever it is. What do you call it?
Yeah, they use young tech on her to play the younger part. I didn't know. I thought it was just someone else they cast to play it, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
But
it was you see how I got confused? So I guess job well done, right?
Right.
But yeah, I just felt like as a villain both in 2018 and in 2015, because not surprising, she follows Adam from 2015, sorry, to 2022, right? yeah, just didn't really work for me, man.
Right.
I don't say that she should have more villainous moments, but I just felt like her motivation wasn't as strong as all that, man. You know what I mean? Oh yes, and by the way, Zoe Saldana, I mean, she was quite, believable as the wife of Adam. You know what I mean? Someone who could put up with his bullshit and just see that, yeah, he is a lovable guy inside, and you buy into their romance, right? Even though they don't spend too much time in it, right? There's some decent action here or there, but not too much to it. That's just a minor nitpick that I had because like the way how this like how I saw it, I thought that it was just gonna be this straight up like sci-fi action, comedy thing there, right? But there are some moments where the story does drag, because they have to establish, what these characters are going through, you know what I mean? All these emotional moments, all that kind of stuff, right? But I felt like, yes, I understand that you're trying to bring emotion to the story, but the show literally stops at times to do this, right? I felt that the show could have just moved a little bit more quicker. Like, okay, we get the point. We know the characters feeling. All right, move on. Not saying that I wanted a ton of action in it, but I just felt like the action was more or less subdued because we just have to do all these emotional beats and whatnot, right? I could tell that Shawn Levy, sorry, who by the way I thought that he did a great job directing wise in this too. I could tell that he was harkening back to like ET's sci-fi, me like
Right.
say like a ET for example, where
Right.
yes, you have the sensational story and whatnot, but it's about the characters themselves and the emotion and the love and all that kind of stuff. Like I know that's what he was going for with it though, but again, at times I just felt like the story just kind of stopped to have these moments. I felt that the pacing was off at some points, right? And as far as it, being a Netflix show, I mean, ultimately for me though, yeah, this really does belong on Netflix. I mean, yes, it has big names and whatnot though, but it really does feel like, all right, like maybe if they had just pumped just an extra $1,000, you would have got like more out of it, so to speak, and probably a theatrical release though. But in no way is it like worse than that Red Notice. I mean, Red Notice was just bad because it was just everybody playing versions of themselves that they played before in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
completely unoriginal story, right?
Yeah, that
Here, I mean, the
that
story
half
is
passing. Yeah.
yeah. Here, the
I have
story
zero patience
is
for.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, here it's heartfelt. It's really, really heartfelt though. Even though for me, I found myself at times questioning the logic around this because again, there was the one who bringing up time travel. Time travel is a
Yeah.
big thing in this film, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like when they try to explain what's going on, it's like, well, all right, that kind of don't make sense. But
Right.
the
Oh,
show just kind of moves like, okay, well, it's not about that. It's about the characters involved, and it's that, right? So I don't know for you, Ricardo, if this will be a make or break for you. Like, oh well, all right, I guess I shouldn't care about the logic because the show clearly doesn't care.
right.
All right, I guess okay, moving on. It's up to you, right? And I guess for everybody else, you'll pretty much just look at it the same way, right? It's a popcorn flick. You watch it, you have fun, you be entertained for an hour and 40 minutes, and you move on with your life, right? So,
Right.
yeah, that's how I feel with it, right? But in no way do I see myself watch this over again. To be honest, though, not to say it's a terrible film, but I just don't think that it's worth seeing again, unless I guess you really love the story and you're a huge Ryan Reynolds fan, right? And yeah, finally, if you're a huge Ryan Reynolds fan, I mean, this is a no-brainer. You kind of need to see this, right? Is and also just before I get to read it here, just found out like literally after watching the film, I found out that actually Shawn Levy is actually well currently deciding to I would say it's not official as yet, but yeah, he may be the director of Deadpool 3.
Okay. Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I,
Right.
I, I,
So
I
does he kind of the test kitchen for his skill set or whatever it is?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
I guess so. I guess so. I guess so. But you could tell that they work well together. You could tell that Sean and Ryan work
Right.
well together.
Right.
So yeah, it'd be cool to see Deadpool 3. I
Okay.
hope
Yeah. I
that
mean, I
that
mean, a
that,
lot.
that film is a X-Force film because I
Right.
felt like
Right.
Deadpool 2 was setting up the X-Force thing, but I want to see the
Nah.
X-Force
Yeah.
in full.
Nah.
I
That ain't
don't think
happening.
we might get that. I don't know.
That ain't happening. I'm dead. I'm dead already. So.
I know, but that was part of what made it funny.
Yeah, exactly. Them dead. Then we come back. They ain't doing that. I know, but yeah. The thing is, a lot of movies serve that purpose as well. Like again, I didn't watch this. 'Cause I didn't expect to treat this as a kind of working final product. But when you mention, oh, he's the same guy who's going to be supposedly directing Deadpool 3, it's like, all right, I don't understand why this exists. It's like, all right, they do a project, they make it a thing. and then it's really, a kind of trial run for him, and then the real thing gonna be Deadpool 3 now. Like in terms of this relationship. All right, okay. So this is making a little more sense now in terms of like why they made it. That happens a lot in the industry. So it's okay.
Yeah. So for me, I'll give this strong 3 out of 5, man. It's alright for what it is. I would say if you have nothing to do and you just want to pull up on Netflix, you just want to see something that looks, big budget enough and theatrical enough. Yeah, give this a look, man. Would I have seen this in theaters? Probably not. I'm kind of glad I watched this in my house. Yeah. But it's not bad. It's not bad. It's just it's fine. It's just that I had issues with pacing and just that whole time travel logic. Just this part of it just didn't work for me. What I was trying to say earlier on is that I am from the Back to the Future world of time travel. I believe that if your character dies, if you are in the future and you come to the past or whatever in the present, and your character dies and you cease to exist, that's how I see that. I don't believe in the looper logic where I could come from the future in the present, kill myself, and then friggin' live. Like, what?
Again, you have to come up with other frameworks to make sense of quote unquote time travel in the sense that we're trying to make sense of it. Like, that's why I don't really waste my time with these arguments anymore, because that's not how it should work anyway. If it was real, blah blah blah. We could get into kind of weird debates about that. Whatever. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on, right? And I just hope that going forward, though, because I don't want to say that time travel is played out, though, but I just hope that going forward, writers and directors kind of think the logic out a little more, but you know what I mean? Like, try to make it sensible. That's all I want. Like,
I find time travel is incredibly played out. Like, I know we jumping on the multiverse thing now, and that is a thing now, but the time travel, you gotta get rid of that. I'm tired of that shit.
But yeah. But yeah, other than that though, whether you care for time travel or not, I would say give this a look, man. It's worth checking out. At least you could see, this, or at least it should give you a little insight into what to expect with Deadpool 3, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's on Netflix. I mean, it's either that or watch The Batman for, the second or third time. I mean, for me, I would go with the latter. But, I mean, if you're just not up for it and you just want to see something at home, yeah, check this out, man.
See.